need something from back over here. Hi, everybody. I feel like this is normally brighter.
I think it's still warming up.
Oh, it's still warming up. Okay, that's fine. I have a lot of like little things. First of all, thank you all for coming out. I'm Ashley Hollingshead. I'm one of the MFA EDPP, or European Devised Performance Practice students. And this is the first night of the third Mask Festival, which is the showcase for all of our performances. Most of my cohort is like in that corner over there. So we've all got shows this weekend. There's 10 shows, there's 2 workshops, both of which are free. There's 2 awesome panels, which are also free. I'm sure your programs have way more information about that. I'm also just enjoying this lozenge right now. So how this evening is going to work out is obviously we're starting on this side of the gallery. My piece will be roughly 35-ish minutes long, maybe a little longer because there's more people than I imagined. And then there'll be a brief kind of changeover period where we'll go to the other side and we will see Gabrielle Wilson's Cooking with Janice. And then after that, for those of you that are continuing on with us, we'll just take like about a 10-minute walk down to 72 East 11th to the Sheldon Patinkin Theater, and we'll see Ben Hustis's Small Talk, and that will round out our evening tonight. I'm taking these off. Thank you. Kind of the glare. And yeah, I guess other than that, let's get started. This is going to be all my little words. This stack of papers is my best friend and longtime collaborator's playwriting thesis. This is every page of every draft. There are 5 full drafts and 3 half drafts here. These pages contain everything from small tweaks to lines to 3 completely full and different rewrites. There are 904 pages here. This play was supposed to be finished in 2014, and the last draft is from sometime in 2015. And I don't know if it will ever be done. What is wrong? What is right? A play in 2 to 3 acts, depending upon the draft, by Nate Harpel. This play takes place in 1995 in Aberdeen, Washington. Aberdeen is probably best, or rather only, known as the birthplace of Kurt Cobain. This play tells the story of a family struck by tragedy. In it, the son is a train hopper or a drifter, and he's struck by a train and he dies. And this play tells the story of the family as they deal with their grief. In every draft, the daughter Ada focuses on getting out of this shithole town. And she does this by exploring her sexual capital. In some versions, she makes homemade porn, and others she just takes racy photos. The mother, Jill, becomes obsessed with her job as a logging contractor. And she encounters a protester who's chained themselves to this tree that she's supposed to cut down to build a road. In every draft of the play, she tries to save the tree, though her motivations for saving the tree differ. She does sleep with the protester in every draft. In the later drafts of the play, though, she tries to save the tree as an homage to her recently deceased son. In some drafts, she leaves her family, sometimes with the protester and sometimes without. The father becomes enraptured with dealing with his grief through his religious practice. And in later drafts, he freezes to death while meditating outdoors. I'm not actually interested in the contents of this script so much. Actually, don't like the play that much. But what I'm interested in is what the stack of papers is trying to do, but cannot. What I'm interested in is what they represent. I'm interested in the failure of this artistic venture. Let's look at those again. fail? Is it universal? Is your definition the same as yours? What if you think something's a success, but you think that that's a failure? I mean, this play is never going to be finished. But at the same time, look at how many pages Nate wrote. Is it really all for nothing? The last time I talked to Nate, he spent the first 20 minutes of our time together explaining to me why he hadn't made anything since leaving graduate school. And now Nate wasn't just a writer, he was also a director and a designer, and in a pinch, he was a totally decent performer. He was also a musician and a composer, and like the kind of annoying person that can pick up any instrument and like play it. But he hasn't done any of that since leaving graduate school. And he actually didn't finish that either. I mean, how do you get burned so bad? This is Nate, and that's me. We met sometime between 2002 and 2004, but it was not until April 16th, 2004 that we became friends. This was the celebration for Nate's 22nd birthday. My 20th birthday had been just a week before. And when I came to the door of his house, he opened the door and he said, "I'm so glad you came. You're my favorite new person." And that was the moment where I knew that we would be friends forever. After the birthday meeting, our friendship and collaboration really took off, and Nate gets me as an artist in a way that very, very few people ever have. A couple of years after we graduated, we reconvened in our college town. Nate had actually just moved back from Chicago, where he'd undergone a terrible breakup, and I remember him calling me to tell me that it was too cold to cry when the breakup happened. We were both sleeping on our friend's couch, and leafing through her magazines, Nate found an essay that resonated with both of us. Do you need some help, Faith?
I think it's okay.
Okay. They'll be sound soon. The speaker?
Yeah, I think so. Here. I'll just do it.
Yeah.
All of my favorite
No, I want it to be loud.
I bought on the street. I mean, I like some commercial rap. I like some underground hip
Can we
hop.
try plugging it in?
The shit I really get down with is downright subterranean.
Do you need to take my phone out of the case?
I don't know.
Sometimes that makes a difference.
Was it when someone rhymes a word with the same word? But it's not the campy.
So let's stop and start again. Let's see if that fixes it. You can begin. Just hit the green go button.
Yeah.
Get it, Janice.
All right, it's now on the speaker.
Down with
There we
is
go.
downright subterranean. I love the
Start it
murky
over.
production.
Okay.
All of my favorite rap albums are CDs I bought on the street. I mean, I like some commercial rap. I like some underground hip hop. But the shit I really get down with is downright subterranean. I love the murky production values. I find it exquisite when someone rhymes a word with the same word. But it's not the campiness that captivates me. It's the urgent sincerity, the flares of emotion, the specifics of small but stinging daily struggles. I don't want my rappers driving Escalades. I want them begging rides from their friends, or driving the same beat-up piece of shit as me. Thankfully, the sleek and sanded major label concoctions on sale at Circuit City are counterbalanced by the hundreds, maybe thousands of great unheard of albums like, for instance, Showtime's Once the Gate Drops. Showtime's Andre Jackson, and I met him a few years ago when he was 18, hawking his CDs on the subway. And by the time I'd listened all the way through his album, I was a fan for life. Not every rap album you buy directly from the rapper who rapped it is a work of undiscovered brilliance. Some are unlistenable, some don't play in any CD player or are actually blank. But this element of mystery and intrigue is part of the excitement. And by and large, there's magic in these CDs. These are the rap world's Daniel Johnstons, recording in bedrooms, in love with making music, a bit adult perhaps, but also a bit visionary. I can't help but respect the punk rock DIY spirit of anybody who makes art and tries to sell it to strangers on the street. After all, I do the same shit myself. Every year I hop in a van and go to city selling my zines. The best track on Showtime's album, by a long shot, is S-H-O-T-I-M-E. It's a fierce anthem, grimy as fuck. Showtime shouts, grunts, even growls his refrain. I'm on the grind. I'm on the grizzine. One night on our Found tour last fall, my Belgian friend Benoit, who is playing roadie, asked me in his clipped accent, "What is this, grizzine?" "This is the grizzine," I explained, selling magazines out of the back of a van, sleeping on park benches. Benoit nodded gravely and took a sip of his maker's mark. Then he looked up at me and with a thoughtful look, "I also am on the grizzine?" "Yes, Benoit, you are also on the grizzine, and I am on the grizzine. Both of us, and Showtime." We clunked whiskey bottles. To the grizzine.
That weekend, Nate and I decided to start a theater company, just like everyone else who just turned a graduate. Our theater company is called the Working Theater Collective, and it's based in Portland, Oregon. I moved to Portland about 2 weeks after the economy tanked in 2008. It was rough, like for 5 months and couldn't find a job for 7 months. Rough, like applied for food stamps for the first, but not the last time. Rough. But in that time, we put up 2 shows. We did a show in the one-car garage attached to Nate's house, and the other one toured the city of Portland to 14 different locations on Valentine's Day. So while the economy in Portland was not very welcoming, definitely the artistic scene was. This photo is from opening night of our first play, A Story That Ends and Begins with a Dream, which Nate wrote and I directed. These 3 folks were in the show, and then the other 2 helped produce it, and this is our theater company. I am always the shortest. A lot. You might be wondering, why Nate? I mean, why anybody? I mean, what's so great about that guy? I mean, this is one of the best photos I've ever taken, but I mean, why do you connect with one person and not with another? Why does one person's artistry inspire you and someone else's just kind of leave you feeling nothing? I mean, Nate is someone who gets me and I get him. And he makes me feel like all the art I want to make is within reach of my hands. In this photo, we're building the set for our show in the one-car garage. I know it looks like Nate is doing all the work, and I'm just supervising, but I can assure you that we were completely equal in everything that we did together. And he is definitely the person that I thought that I would be doing this with for the rest of my life. And then he just stops. Like, just stops. Like, we were doing the thing, we were doing it together, we were on the grizzine, we were making it happen, and then, no, we're not. One of us stops, we're not doing it together anymore, and only one of us is doing it all, and who's to say that I won't have my own stack of papers weighing me down someday? This is the part where I try and do a handstand. There are a lot more people here than there were when I practicing. Don't worry, I'm not good at it. So, it's also embarrassing because like I've done a lot of yoga and I go to like a physical theater program, but I really cannot do a handstand. Please, no side coaching. That just makes it worse. And then I'm back to direction. Okay. Oh, that one was not so bad. Great. This play was also terrible. This is the worst show that I've ever directed. There were a number of problems. First of all, the script, which Nate co-wrote with a friend of ours, later Nate said that he thought that they had actually written an experimental novel as opposed to a play. I also made some really bad casting choices. This guy was a total creeper. And then this person over here, at one point, they told me that they were a realism actor. And I like a lot of styles of theater, but like that's not one of them. But also that person was like a part of our like best friend theater company, so they knew tons of people that had worked with us. They had like, I even sent them the script in advance. Like, there was nothing about this show or this company or myself that said realism, and that person chose to remind me of that every single rehearsal that they came to. This is actually the photograph in which she is the most visible. I deleted all of the rest. This guy was super great though. I worked with him a ton, he was awesome. Opening night is always a celebration, but what I was celebrating on opening night of this show was that I didn't have to work on it anymore. But for as terrible as that show was, I think the design turned out really awesome, and I actually really like the photos, so I use them like all over the time. All right, on this little piece of paper, which I am going to hand out to the best of my abilities, I would like for you to write down, using your pencils, this is a pencil time, something that someone has said to you. Something that someone has said to you at some point in time that was critical of you or your art or something that has stuck with you for who knows how long, for who knows whatever reason. You guys are laughing down here. Yeah, just write it down and then I'll come back and talk to them. Let's see. Let's maybe get a handful of papers, passing some papers back that way. And then let's see. I'm going to step over you. No, yes. Here's a bunch of papers for back here. I may not have enough papers. I don't know. So
We can rip on a map.
you definitely can.
I can rip mine and share.
Here's some papers here. Here's some papers for back over here. Maybe a few extras actually. Anyone need any more papers? Little areas. Great. Anyone else? Oh. Do you need more papers? Oh, okay, right. Extra, wonderful. Maybe I did a good job showing you. And then please pass, once you finish writing them down, please pass them forward and put them in the bucket. I know they're a weird texture. You don't have to go too in depth. It's okay. I don't know why I'm pressuring you to finish. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Full of static thing.
Hold them up so small.
Anyone else?
You know what's gonna happen
There,
next.
yeah. Thank you, Lisa.
I think they got it.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Great.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. I think it's on the other side. Great. Oh, thank you. So many little pictures. One more. Oh my, no, it's like a lot more. Great. Done? All right. Oh. All right, last call for critical things. All right. So I have this coworker. He's a little bit older. He's probably in his mid-40s. He's really tall with blonde hair, blue eyes, very, very handsome, broad shoulders. He's an actor. And if he had a bigger beard, he'd kind of look like a Viking. And he does pretty well. He does much more like commercial and film stuff than like what I'm doing. But he gets called in a lot, he gets cast in things, and like he's really wanting to move out to LA. But he wants to get like a couple more credits on his resume. He's definitely the kind of person that is going to do really well in his like mid-50s. Like he just has that look about him. And he's drinking some wine with his girlfriend one night, and I really like her. She, first of all, she's age appropriate. Second of all, she's a total boss at her job, and like travels the world doing, I'm not entirely sure, but whatever it is she does. And then third, even though my coworker's so alpha, she is definitely the boss in their relationship, and I really like that about her. But either way, they're drinking one night, and he's talking about wanting to move out to LA, and like, you know, some conflicts he's been having with like his agent and stuff like that. And she turns to him and she says, baby, when are you going to realize that if that was going to happen for you, it would have? When are you going to realize that you need to give this up? And so he's telling me this at work, and he asks me, he says, what do you say to that? And I was honest with him. I said, I don't know. I don't know what you say when you realize that your partner doesn't support your dreams. I don't know what you say when you realize that the person that you think you're building a life with doesn't think that your life is going in the right direction. And so now we have all of these things that people have said to you, that you've held on to for whatever reason, for however long. And I don't think that these serve us anymore. Oh, no, it didn't go. Guess we have to hang on for a second longer. There is one character in What is Wrong, What is Right that I am very interested in. It's actually the protester character who doesn't even get a name until draft 5. They're the ones that have chained themselves to the old growth tree, the one that the mother character is supposed to cut down to build this road. I'm interested in this character because he's really kind of a pessimist for a protester. He says things like he picks losing battles, and that he knows that eventually this tree will become so much kindling. Yet despite that, he does believe that some things from yesterday should be kept alive for today. He does convince the mom to reroute the road. I mean, that is after they've slept together. But when the mother's plans to reroute the road fail, he decides to abandon the tree and run away with her. He says that just because one tree stops growing, it doesn't mean that all others do. And starting in draft 3, his final words are, "Fuck this tree, it's cold out here." I get so angry every time I read these How can someone give up on their ideals so easily, so quickly? And I can't help but feel like this is a metaphor for Nate and his art making. I once quit making art. I had a very traumatic internship at an extremely toxic theater in the greater DC metro area, and it just like destroyed me for a bit. It was like the kind of thing where you're trying to figure out when's the best time to go cry in the stairwell. So I decided to move across the country. I moved to San Francisco because I figured that no matter how shitty my day was, I could go look at the ocean, and that would make everything at least a little bit better. The whole time that I lived in San Francisco, which was only about 9 months, I had a friend who knew me from when I had been making things, and he kept asking me when I was going to start making work again. And I kept telling him that that was not a thing. I get up in the evening, and I ain't got nothing to say. I come home in the morning, and I go to bed feeling the same way. I ain't nothing but tired. Man, I'm just tired and bored of myself. Hey there, baby, I could use just a little help. Can't start a fire. Can't start a fire without a spark. This gun's for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. Messages keep getting clearer. The radio's on and I'm moving around my place. Take a look in the mirror. I want to change my clothes, my hair, my face. And I ain't going nowhere. I'm just sitting in a dump like this. There's something happening somewhere. Baby, I just know there is. Can't start a fire. Can't start a fire without a spark. This gun's for hire, even if we're just dancing in the dark. I get up in the evening, and I ain't got nothing to say. I get up in the evening, and I ain't got nothing to say. I get up in the evening, and I ain't got nothing to say. We all know that Beckett quote. That one, as much beloved by business people as it is by theater people. Ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. People get really caught up on this fail better part. If you do a quick Google search, you'll find that phrase covering everything from bicep tattoos to inspirational wall hangings that would surely have Beckett spinning in his grave. But for me, this isn't about fail better. It's about try again. Try again, try again, try again, try again.
This was JB's 5th month in the studio, and he loved it. Loved it more than he thought he would. He liked the fact that his studio mates were all real, serious artists. He could have never worked in Ezra's place, not only because he believed what his favorite professor had once told him, that you should never paint where you fucked, but because to work in Ezra's was to be constantly surrounded and interrupted by dilettantes. There, art was something that was just an accessory to a lifestyle. You painted or sculpted or made crappy installation pieces because it justified a wardrobe of wash-soft t-shirts and dirty jeans and a diet of ironic cheap American beers and ironic expensive hand-rolled American cigarettes. Here, however, you made art because it was the only thing you'd ever been good at. The only thing, really, that you thought about between shorter bursts of thinking about the things that everyone thought about: sex and food and sleep and friends and money and fame. But somewhere inside you, whether you were making out with someone in a bar or having dinner with your friends, was always your canvas, its shapes and possibilities floating embryonically behind your pupils. There was a period, or at least you hoped there was, with every painting or project, when the life of that painting became more real to you than your everyday life, when you sat wherever you were and you thought only of returning to the studio, when you were barely conscious that you had tapped out a hill of salt onto the dinner table, and in it you were drawing your plots and patterns and plans, the white grains moving under your fingertips like silt.
at photos of cute cats now? Can we look at one more photo? That's my picture too. Take out your pencils. This paper is here. Please just pass them around. On this piece of paper, if you will write down a compliment, something that's with you, and you think of, no matter how bad your day is, it always makes it seem a little brighter. Here, lots of papers here. Thank you. Take your piece of paper and exchange it with someone next to you that you don't know. If you know everyone around you, you can't know everyone in this room. I don't know. And don't look at it. Just exchange papers with someone that you don't know.
Trade me.
Somebody trade with me, please.
We're trapped. Trade us. Someone's probably
Does
trading.
everyone
No.
know?
We all know. It
We're
doesn't
all-
matter.
We all know each other. Fine, just decide who knows the person the least. That was, most people that spend every day of the last year. Take your little compliment, put it in your pocket or in your purse or in between your phone and your phone case and save it for later when you need it, when you want it.
Write another one. Did you cheat?
So, this is Nate, and this is me. And this is not the earliest photo from our friendship. I mean, we've been friends for about 15 years. This is the one, though, that our hair looks the best in. And while that's initially why I chose this photo, looking at the date on it, I realized that this photo is from the day that Nate left for graduate school. We just finished having brunch at a restaurant that you can't see over here. And part of why we are posed like this is so that you can see our matching tattoos. The first one that we got together is the hammer. It was the logo for our theater company, which we decided that even if we didn't do this together forever, it was still a really cool thing that we did. And then the second tattoo, which we got on April 16th one year to commemorate our friendship, says, "On the gridiron." I'm sure that in the moments after this photo, we hugged, said that we would miss each other and that we loved each other. I hopped on my bicycle and he got in a moving van and we went our separate ways. Who knew when we were taking this photo or when we were getting those tattoos that this is where we would end up now? The last time that I saw Nate, he told me that he was thinking about starting to write again sometime soon. A few months later, his wife was in Chicago and we were catching up. And she told me that she's found him some mornings typing away at the computer. She hasn't asked him what it's about, preferring to leave him undisturbed, afraid perhaps that it's something fleeting. But it reminds me of a line from What Is Wrong, What Is Right. It appears for the first time in the 5th draft. And then in every subsequent draft after that. It belongs to the daughter, Ada. It's a part of living, stepping into the mystery, isn't it? You just have to keep telling yourself that you're on some grand adventure that could end at any moment. Thank you. Obviously, a bit of transition time between now and the next piece, so please join us on the other side of the gallery.